Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of our program Jones and Company. On this program we examine the national issues of the Bahamas, and one of the issues in the Bahamas is education. And the Ministry of Education in the Bahamas is making strides to improve student education in our country. And today on our program we are pleased to have two guests who are going to talk about the Jumpstart program and student development in the Bahamas. Our guests on the program today are Dr. WillardBarr, who is responsible for this new student development division of the Ministry of Education, and the Minister Jeffrey Lloyd is putting a whole lot of emphasis on that division. And also accompanying him today is Ms. BelindaChipman, who is the coordinator of the Jumpstart program. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so
very
much.
Nice to have you. Godfrey Ines, good to see you.
Thank you. I was talking to Miss Chipman about her experience in the Caribbean. She's studied in Jamaica, lives in Trinidad, you know, and I was telling Dr. Barr, I know he comes from a pugilistic environment. There are a lot of boxers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ernie Barr.
Yeah.
Freeman and natural.
Yeah, okay, all right. But tell us, Dr. Barr, about the Student Development Division. Why is that necessary?
It's a division that was formed sometime in 2015, and the reason for the formation is to ensure that no child falls through the crack. And so we have looked at the total child. We recognize that all children are exposed to element of being at risk. And so we look at the at-risk behavior in terms of if you are in mainstream school, you are exposed to being at risk. If you are a student who's being suspended, then you are a student at high risk. Yes. If you have to go before the juvenile courts, if you have to go to like a program like SHORE program, TAPS program, then we say you are very much proven risk. And therefore, we realized that the elements of crime in our country was escalating, particularly among minors. And so we want to know, what can school do to ensure that we don't feed into that system of preparing children for crime? And so we look at about 4 approaches to this new division. We look at suspension. No longer will students be suspended from school to go home any longer. We have about 9 centers, and these are particularly faith-based centers who ensures that if a child is suspended, that child goes to that center during the day while parents are out to work, and they get any number of care. We have counseling, pastoral care, psychological help, etc., etc. We also look at the fact that there is a need for parenting, and so we have forming a unit that would be particularly concerned about how do we relate to parents and their concern for their children, establishing a help desk if they need the necessary help, even where we have social services that would be able to deal with a parent who the juvenile court has said, look, you need more parenting skill. We want to be able to provide help in that as well. And then we look at character education. What this country needs at this time is more leaders who have character and moral issues. We have heard the Minister of Education articulating the Prime Minister's concern about corruption. We want to be able to know that when we graduate a child, that child is able to go out into the world of work or in the community with the 6 pillars of character, that he is responsible, that he is fair, he is caring, he has a good acumen for his country to be a good citizen.
Yes.
And then further to that, we have added what was called this element of Star Academy, where if we have our boys who are not benefiting in mainstream school, rather than talking about expulsion, we can send them to this academy and they can get the necessary help.
Interesting.
Dr. Barr, there's several factors here that causes people to fall through the cracks. all right?
A lot.
Aptitude, all right? If you are someone who's not academically oriented, but you're more skills directed, first of all, how do you find those people?
Well, what we...
Let me finish now.
Yes, okay.
Then the other thing is, people may suffer from dyslexia or attention deficit disorder. All right? In my day, they'd put you in the corner and call you a dunce.
Yeah. I'd be
All right?
lonely.
Or sometimes people have deficiencies with vision. Right? I had a son who had the lazy eye.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how do you ensure that some of these factors are not the primary reason for people falling through the cracks?
As you may be aware, the Marjorie Davis Institution was set up a few years ago, and this institution was set up to look at the cognitive competence of the child. What are the learning challenges that this child is presented with, and what would be the remedies? And so we have that center, as I speak, where students are pulled out of mainstream school and are sent there for that. They're being diagnosed, and there is some suggestion or remedy as to how we could correct that problem. We have some issues, some challenges with having all the necessary manpower to deal with all of what you're saying. But I can assure you that with the new thrust that our new Minister of Education came in with, we're going to be tapping into all of those differences and variables.
Yeah, but it takes a very vigilant teacher, though, to be able to identify these students who are dyslexic, who are autistic, who perhaps have some visionary problems, so that they can be isolated. And so how are you going to ensure that teachers are able to identify these students?
Okay, a part of the mandate of the Ministry of Education, and it was articulated in a recent conclave, is that we have to retrain. Gone are the days when we could rely on the old way that we were trained with many years ago. So the new thrust is to retrain those who have been through the system for some time and are not aware of all these variables. We are also relating to UB to ensure that the new teachers that are coming on stream must have these elements to be able to cater to those types of
And to be able to identify flaws.
flaws.
Okay, good.
You know, there's another side to this too. You know, smart students can become disruptive
Very
That is
brilliant.
correct.
and can become bored.
Yes.
Right? Do you have a part of this program for what in the States they call talented and gifted students? You know, for example, he has a granddaughter, right? He has a granddaughter, it's the same gentleman here. And I told him, in my day, they would skip her, right? They used to skip you when you know. I understand they don't do that no more now. Is that true?
It varies. Sometimes there are some schools who would do it, but it is not a standard norm that we do.
But
so.
aren't you robbing that? You know, I was telling my reading about Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King went to Morehouse College. When he was 14 or 15,
Gifted.
right? And at the time when he Dr. What's his name?
Benjamin Mays?
No, the neurosurgeon that we have here.
Oh, Ikedidi.
Ikedidi, right?
Yeah.
Went to medical school at 14.
Dr. Magnus Ikedidi.
Went to medical school
Dr.
in
Magnus.
Nigeria at 14. He said his father would carry him to school every morning and drop him to the medical school, right?
And he went to Cuba.
Right?
Right.
So you could be retarding people's development.
And that is true. And so as we evolve, we're going to have to look at all of these factors. And it's only a matter of time when we get all of them
But
in.
these things should have been in place.
They
sir.
should have. They should have. But
With 40-something years in the independence,
again, it is,
And
it is what it is.
so the Student Development Division
Right.
is dealing with all of these issues, the extent to which students ought to be fast-tracked,
Yes.
or they should be taken out of the system?
What we are the mere fact that the Marjorie Davis Institution was formed was to be able to diagnose children.
Yes.
And to determine which side of the totem pole they are on.
Yeah.
as a handicap
Right.
situation.
You
Yeah.
see, and so once they know where they are,
And they direct
recommendations have got to be made to send them or put them where they ought to be.
Okay. Belinda Chipman, you are in the Jumpstart program, all right?
Yes, sir.
What is the Jumpstart program?
them. Wow. The Jump Start program is a program developed by educators who saw the need to save the youth that would have slipped through the crack.
Yeah.
Dr. Barr, Mr. Mr. Albert Clark, and Dr. Novia Carter, they sat down as educators. Dr. Carter is a school psychologist. Mr. Albert Clark is a lifelong, like 40-something years of being in the school system, in different aspects of the school system. And so they sat down and they thought about something that would fall under the STAR Academy, that would be one of the prongs of the 4 prongs that we have, like Dr. Barr talked about, the parenting unit and all of these different areas. And what can we do to start students off and to catch those ones that would fall through the crack in the meantime until that is fully developed? Well, they came up with the Jump Start. Let's do something to jump start. And so they came up with the Jump Start program. It was written and formed and obviously put to the minister that was in place at the time, Minister Fitzgerald. And then when our new minister came in, he was met with by Dr. Barr and the team, and they explained to him what it was all about. And he was very passionate about it because he had already been involved in things like that before as a previous educator himself as well, the yeast program and things like that, that dealt with those types of things. So he quickly embellished it. You know, he paid the funds for us to start the Jump Start. So it started. We had training at BTVI, who was the ones who partnered with us, and they offered to us 5 skills. They did painting, drywall, they did electrical installation, and all of those things that would gear towards using your hands, because those children would not have graduated because they didn't meet the national requirement. So now they're going to this program, which was a 12-week program, and throughout the time they would have gotten these skills, as well as you have to have that math and that English, and of course some computer skills and what we call soft skills, life skills. By the way, the soft skills, although it was written in the program, was one of the things that the minister was passionate about and said to us when he met, you know, listen, I'm going to want this to be embellished from K classes straight through, because we think, because we're good parents and we have wonderful children and they know everything that we taught them, that every parent did that, or that every child got that level of treatment. No. We realize that there's social elements. It can be any number of things. Like he said earlier, Dr. Innes said, he said that it could be where the child didn't have something, or, you know, maybe he didn't have a night's rest because he lives in a home with many children, or whatever the deal is.
So
You
all
know?
of this has to do with, similar to the American program, No Child Left Behind.
Precisely.
Similar.
So you're not leaving behind any
Anyone,
child.
no child.
So you are finding ways to ensure that every single student in the Bahamas is able to leave school with some skills.
Some skills.
Something.
And not only that, when I look at the issuing of alerts, I think earlier in the year we had the U.S. issuing an alert that, look, stay away from certain areas over the hill or wherever because of crime. Then you had the Canadians who came in. And this is serious, because I always go back to, I visited Barbados and I had some workshop down there in education, and the delegates from Suriname said on one occasion, look, our economy was booming. Our dollar was stronger than that of the US dollar. And one night, an attempt to overthrow the government rendered our country a ghost town. And so I am always mindful of that. And therefore, I have put a lot of time and energy into ensuring that we do not add criminals to the society.
Interesting. Let's take a break here. This is Jones and Company. We're going to pick up that line when we return on our program. Dr. Willard Barr and Ms. Belinda Chipman. They are our guests today. We'll come right back.